All right, let's get going. So everyone, thanks for joining. I'm Dave Carroll. I run marketing here at Zenput. Really appreciate you all joining the roundtable discussion today on a particularly hot topic, especially given the staffing challenges facing the industry. And the topic is employee productivity. So it's how do we make every store and restaurant employee, every field manager, and even headquarters staff more productive? It's a topic I'm sure, as all of you here joining on the call, you're having in your own organizations. It's a conversation we're with our customers every day. And questions, all kinds of questions come up. Questions like, how do I make every staff member that does show up, for a shift as productive as possible? How do we give time back to my staff by removing or automating lower value activities so they can focus on higher value work? And at the end of the day, how do we overcome lack of people power, or really prevent the growing cost of people power from being a bottleneck to scaling our organizations and growing? And to help us unpack this very meaty subject, I'm delighted to be joined by three individuals who spend much of their days helping to improve operational excellence across their orgs. We have Graham Fenwick, who is Productivity and Change Director with PizzaExpress. Welcome, Graham. We've got Tim Brooks, who's Director of Strategy and Control for Global Partners. Glad to have you here, Tim. And we got Peyton Whitty, who is Field Training Manager and Food Safety Specialist for RPM, a Domino's franchisee here in the US. So what's great about having these experts here, not only the panel gives us perspective spanning industry, so we have obviously Graham and Peyton represent the restaurant side of the world. We got Tim helping to give us a vantage point on the convenience side. And we got vantage point spanning continents with Graham. Thank you for kind of hanging in and tuning in from the UK. A great opportunity, I think, to cross-pollinate insights across industry and kind of borrow from best practices emerging on either side of that. So I do know we have many friends of Zenput here on the call, a lot of customers I know joining today, but some may not be as familiar with us. So just in way of a little bit of background on Zenput. So in a nutshell, we at Zenput, we're focused on helping multi-unit operators, whether that be in restaurant or convenience or a grocery, to take their operations execution capabilities to the next level. What that means, our customers are using us in a range of ways, but the core, they're using us to roll out operating procedures, food safety protocols. They're using our platform to roll out other initiatives like marketing promotions, and ultimately to make sure that these are all being done correctly and on time in every location. Today, our customers are collectively managing more than 60,000 locations in over 100 countries, and using our platform to help automate and at least streamline a lot of the daily work happening in the field and at the store level to give employees time back. And they're using our platform as well to give field leaders, ops teams, and execs a clear view of what's happening on the ground and to give them that visibility from anywhere. So with that, let us introduce our panel a little more formally. Graham, starting with you, I'd love to hear a little bit more about your role and your organization.
Sure. Afternoon, everybody. So yeah, PizzaExpress, we're a casual dining brand based out of Soho in London. So we operate 370 locations across every country of the UK and under the Milano brand in Ireland. We also have equity markets and franchise markets across the world. A few listed or listed here, but notably Hong Kong, UAE. So we are represented across the world, not in America, unfortunately, but watch this space. So yeah, I've been PizzaExpress for 20 years in multiple roles in operations. I started in the restaurants themselves and then moved into multi-site across spanning the UK from Edinburgh, Manchester, moved over to Dublin, operated the London estate as a regional director and operated the Northern Territories as well as the regional director. I then had the opportunity to take on a brand new role in PizzaExpress with a view of the digitalization and working closely with our really strong IT function to support the deployment of technology into our our restaurants seamlessly, unlock our teams to really deliver, world-class customer service. So the role's been around for 3 years, and we've obviously had to go through COVID in that time, which has slowed down some plans and sped up others. But we're working very closely between all the head office functions, restaurant support functions, and the operators themselves. So we're sort of the middle guy who can help make things happen and make sure we deploy things properly. So yeah, like I say, 20 years. The brand is well established in the UK. We're the largest casual dining brand in the UK. Pizza obviously is our main product. Peter Boiso founded us in 1965. It was a sort of legend in our industry, and first man to bring sort of pizza to the UK, Peroni to the UK, very heavily linked with jazz and live music. We have jazz clubs in multiple London locations and in Birmingham, where we have famous acts playing regularly, so very strong ties to music. And our charity partner is Nordoff Robbins, who are a music therapy charity, who are excellent, and we work very closely with. We're 8,500 employees. And yeah, it's a great place to work, and I look forward to today and chatting with you guys on how we take the best learnings from our industry across the pond. So yeah, excited about it.
Awesome. Thank you, Graham. All right, so I think, Tim, hand off to you. Pass over the mic.
All right. Thank you, David. I'm looking forward to participating in today's panel discussion. It'll be a lot of fun, and I hope everybody learns a lot. My name is Tim Brooks. I'm the Director of Strategy Controls for Global Partners Limited Partnership. We're stationed in Massachusetts in the United States. I have over 30 years of retail experience in convenience stores and gas stations, starting out with Cumberland Farms Gulf Oil in 1989. And unfortunately, most of the people I work with now weren't even born then, but that's a good thing. Started out as a franchise manager, then moved up the line, held several positions in the company. 2019, I moved on when Gulf Oil was spun off and sold, became the Director of Sales Administration, and then the Senior Director of Sales Administration and Service. And then 3 years ago, I moved on to Global Partners as the Director of Strategy and Controls, where my job is mainly to find better ways to do what we do to get our job done and sign up more stations and stores and get them under our portfolio. We have available to us 13 different brands under which we can brand any one of our stations or stores, and we've been taking advantage of that. We have approximately 2,000 stores and stations across our portfolio, which is basically New England and New York, down through the mid-Atlantic of the United States. And then we have terminal operations and renewable fuels that we have adapted through a distribution network across the USA and Canada. Our company was founded in 1933, family owned, started out as an oil distribution company, heating oil, and then eventually grew and meeting customer needs, decided to get into the gasoline business, and we've been doing fantastic since then, making sure that we look at strategic acquisitions, which is how we mainly grow. We also have some organic growth, and that's where my focus is on that organic growth, trying to maximize that. And in addition, I'm really proud to say that our company is huge in community support, and I think that helps us attract the best candidates out there, and we bring them in and we make them part of our business. So I'm just fortunate to be part of it, and looking forward to being part of this webinar today. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Tim. All right, Peyton, off to you.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'm excited to be on here today and talk to everyone. My name's Peyton Whitty. I run the field training team for RPM Pizza, which is the largest franchise of Domino's within the US. I also manage our food safety side for the company. I started with Domino's in 2004, just answering phones. Then I was a store manager as well as a unit manager or district manager for about 8 years. And then I switched over to the training side. I've been in the training and food safety for about 6 years now. And I kind of oversee anything that involves both quality assessment of our operations, food safety, of course, and any kind of rollouts or change that we go out to the field. My team kind of helps that transition. The franchise I work for is called RPM Pizza. We're mainly located in the South, but we do have some Midwest locations as well. So some of the major markets were like New Orleans and Indianapolis. And then with Domino's, something I'm really excited about. So even though we're a franchise, part of my team gets to work with Domino's and all the technology they roll out a lot because that has to roll out to the field with the change. So I'm really excited today.
All right, awesome. So thanks, Peyton, for joining. So I wanted to, now that we have, I think, even more folks that have kind of tuned in, wanted to a little bit of housekeeping. So do feel free. We're gonna drive a good conversation here on different topics. We're gonna try to save some time for the end for some dedicated Q&A, but don't let that hold you back. If you have questions as we go or commentary, you should see in your GoToWebinar panel a questions window and a chat window. So as we go, I'm going to try to pay attention to that. So if I see burning questions that might influence where we take the conversation, let's do it. So what I'm going to do, we're going to dive in, gentlemen, and to help us with that, I want to just provide a little. So we have our organizations, we kind of know what's happening in our four walls, what's been happening outside those four walls, which I think we're all well aware of. And we're experiencing it firsthand, so we don't have to belabor the point, but let's underscore it. Like just a few months back, this was just an interesting stat. We have a higher percentage of folks in our industries, and this one specifically, around the restaurant industry. Higher percentage quit their jobs in any other industry, which not surprisingly means all the people that we need to recruit to run our businesses are hard to find. But despite these macro forces that we're all kind of dealing with, the show has to go on, right? The great news is we have more people showing up, everyone's going out and wanting to experience our brands and what we have to offer. And this means we're all having to get by with less staff, but it's not easy. We did some research with Technomic a little while back, and there's just a lot of stuff that needs to happen in our stores and restaurants every day, as you all know. And we actually counted that through some pretty broad-ranging surveying. There's tasks that are being done to make sure brand standards are met, that food safety doesn't become an issue, that customer experiences remain consistent and positive. And this is eating up, as you can see, across the different segments of convenience, restaurant, grocery, time. Just to drill down, that time is covering like a range of tasks and daily work, weekly work that's happening. Just to make it real, here's a couple: sanitization, cleaning, food preparation, labeling. We see this happening in our stores, but it's sometimes eye-opening when you realize how much time is being consumed by just getting this necessary work done. But there's a but, an important but, is that doesn't have to be the way it is. There is a big opportunity, which is really the purpose of this discussion, to say how do we start to get ahead of some of this time, this work that can't not be done, but can apply technology, automation to try to streamline this, to shift some of this manual work that's happening, take it off the shoulders of our people on the ground and in the field. This happens to be Zenput is just one technology that the folks that we've assembled here are using multiple technologies to help do this in various parts of their operation. Specific to Zenput, we did poll our customers at our last customer conference in the fall, and it was interesting to see, like, after they've deployed Zenput, I won't read through that, but you can see the time that they believe that they are saving in their days for their employees. So that is some context that we might use as a springboard for our discussion. So let's jump in. So reflecting back, I think given the couple of years we've had, it's probably a good place to start. And Graham, why don't we just start with you? So this is really about looking back over the last 2 years, I think there's a lot of ideas on whiteboards dating pre-pandemic. And I think a lot of this started to be put into action and things started to accelerate out of necessity. So what are some of the lessons learned over the last couple of years, wherever that question takes you?
Yeah, I mean, the first big thing is how adaptable our teams are. We had to open and close on a whim, basically. The government changed legislation regularly throughout the last 2 years, and we had to adapt centrally to those rules, send out communications, make sure they were followed, and that the employees were safe first and foremost, and then the customers obviously were safe and looked after as well. So the adaptability of our operators is incredible. We always knew that. This absolutely set it in stone that, you know, they were able to change from dine in to dine out operations overnight. They were able to, you know, deal with obviously no dining customers coming into the business, and a huge influx of, you know, the Deliveroo operations that we had to scale up and relied heavily on. And obviously that legacy has stayed on, and we're now fully optimizing our restaurants based on the learnings that we took through lockdown to make sure that we can service the third-party aggregators for the customers eating at home, and looking after our dining customers which have returned as well. So, you know, we learned a huge amount about that, the need to change things to be able to service what Domino's do exceptionally well, and have always done exceptionally well, is deliver to home. And, you know, we've always had a market for that, but it's never been the core business. That the growth of that part of our business has been huge. So yeah, we've had to fully adapt. We've had to change things physically in the restaurant. We've had to change training. We've had to change technology to allow us to do that. And yeah, that legacy has remained. Delivery hasn't died off in the UK when we've reopened dine-in. So it's an interesting balance now. And, you know, our priority is to look after both and make sure both have, you know, a world-class experience, whether they're sat on the couch at home or sat in one of our restaurants. So we're continuing to make changes, but we learned a huge amount about that. But yeah, and the way we can communicate as well. You know, Teams became the only channel to speak to each other, and, you know, we've, again, the legacy's continued. We have less meetings face to face. We have them, you know, more and more, because, you know, we prefer that style where people. But yeah, the ability to use Teams and the technology we're using now is definitely a core part of our business. So we've definitely improved our communications channels, the learning on the adaptability and resilience of our workforce. And then the learnings on how to deal with the balance between dine in and dine out, I would say, were the sort of headlines from what were a very hectic and stressful and busy few years. Yeah, so for us, they were our headlines anyway.
That's great. Yeah, I think all the innovation and things that we all had to do out of necessity, we kind of exit the pandemic as we're in the process of doing, with more complexity, opportunity, but a lot more complexity in the business.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, to mirror some of what Graham said, I think we had to find ways to do more with less. And we understood that the staffing issues were a huge problem. Having a convenience store that, you know, didn't have enough staffing, it can be pretty difficult. So we had to find ways to do the normal, everyday administrative kind of pen and pencil stuff, turn that into electronic, and make that work a little bit easier, a little bit faster. And what we found is that there was a wonderful byproduct of that, which is not only were we getting information quicker from our stores and stations, we were able to react to it quicker and establish trends quicker and meet those trends and adjust as needed quicker than ever before. In addition to that, I think that we, because we embraced technology and integration with technology in our day-to-day operations, I think we found that that even though we have less staff, our staff was becoming more customer service oriented as opposed to administrators. And I think that was a huge change. And if you can take a silver lining out of a very difficult period in the world history here, I think that's a little silver lining that the convenience store industry can take out of it, is that we've come back home to being customer service folks as opposed to somebody who just runs a convenience store. Really important to us. Regulatory things that normally were done by pen and paper, no longer done by pen and paper. Handheld device, boom, 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 right through Zenput. It's all done. It's right back in the office automatically in our headquarters in Waltham, and then we can react to it from there. So I think the embracing and leveraging the technology was such a huge thing, and it had so many positive byproducts of it, that maybe the staffing levels are still an issue and will continue to be, I think, for a little while now. But I think the staffing issues were minimized as much as they could have been by embracing and leveraging the technology. And we're continuing to do that even today, finding new and better ways to do things that we used to do before, moving away from pen and paper and going to an electronic platform.
That's great. Thanks, Tim. Peyton, how would you kind of introduce the topic here the last couple of years, some of the headlines?
Graham and Tim hit a lot of things right on. As we got busier than ever, people wanted their food delivered. And as the short staffing crisis got worse, we were having even more business with less people. We really had to lean in on technology. And the more we leaned in on technology and the more we made the customers and the employees' lives easier, we also learned that now we had different difficulties, both on the customer side and the employee side, because now it's all about technology. Even on the customer side, when they're ordering, and we always come up with new ways they can order, new products they can eat. Well, they have to learn how that works, and our team members have to learn how that works as well. So one thing we also discovered is it frees up our ability on what we're training. Now we need to focus a little more on technology, but we have to focus less on, as Tim said, the pen and paper. But at the same time, now our team members are kind of becoming less educated in certain areas because they have these systems that are doing the work for them.
Yeah.
So while we can focus more on training in different areas, we also had to learn that we had to come back a little bit and make sure that we're training them on not only the technology that we're using and the new ways that we're communicating to both the customers and the employees, but also to kind of give them refresh on things that people before the technology and the pandemic kind of already knew, but then our new employees were kind of losing that with all the new tech that was helping.
Great, that's great. So let's drill down here. So we're here to talk about productivity. So let's talk about it. So really if you think about how you guys run your operations, right? And as you team with all the others in your companies to do that, whether that's from the headquarters, store, employees in the field, what are the biggest productivity leaks or bottlenecks, and how have you made progress against some of them? And Peyton, we'll kind of start with you, kind of work our way back.
I would say definitely communication is one of our biggest bottlenecks. As Tim said earlier, a silver lining of the pandemic was that certain technologies kind of eased a lot of people's work life. Communication is one of those. We have new channels more than ever, sometimes too many channels, and we have to figure out which ones we want to use. And then with this, it used to be back in the day, our resource center or headquarters would issue a rule, a policy, an update, and that would flow down the chain until the district managers would walk into the restaurants and tell the store crew. That would change, I guess you would call it a grapevine. The information would change as it got down level by level. So with the pandemic, with us being able to lean in on technology, we can now go straight from the top, straight to the bottom with education. And it's not just like a newsletter that they may or may not read. We now have the ability, like all of our stores, you have Microsoft Teams now. So we can have weekly or bi-weekly calls at any level, and everyone who has access to that store computer can now join in and get that technology and that communication. So I'd say that even though it's still one of our biggest bottlenecks, that we've made a lot of progress by just figuring out better ways to communicate and more people we can reach with that communication.
Great. I did stop looking at the slides because I realized while I'm presenting to you guys, I can't see you, so that I can get into discussion. I can do that. What are the productivity bottlenecks? What are the things that you've had to focus the most on to try to get some time back for your team? Oh, Tim.
Did you want Graham or me? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I missed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed it too. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, much like Peyton, I think communication was a big issue for us as well. We have a large network of stations, and to get our communications across using multiple brands for our gas stations, we have access to 13, as I said earlier. Each one of them has their own little communication that they have to do. They're brand specific. We have to get that information out there. And the way that used to get out there was through, email to the region, and as Peyton said, funnel it down until it finally gets to the store. And that in some cases that could be a long time, and that was not good enough. But what we found is that now that we've produced better communications, we're able to do things like do Zoom meetings very, very quickly and talk about an individual subject matter very, very quickly. Everybody gets on it, 5 minutes, everybody's off it, and everybody knows their marching orders. So we didn't do that before, as often as we might have wanted to. And it certainly has helped us become more efficient and get the word out on changes in the environment, changes to the way we're doing things, changes to the way the brand wants us to do things. And I think that was really big for us, is to embrace that Zoom meeting or Microsoft Teams or whatever the case may be that we use. So yeah, communications had been a very big bottleneck. And then in addition to that, it's just that administrative stuff that everybody has to do at a store. Things as simple as, taking inventory. It used to be very hard, pen and paper, and then it would be submitted, and then it would make it up the line. But now that we've embraced technology, we're able to get that information up the line quicker, where decisions can be made and distribution can be expedited, and we can get things to the stations and stores a little bit more quickly. So communications and probably administrative tasks are the biggest things.
All right, great. That's insightful. Graham, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, communication, but and massive one for us is experience of team and length of service of our team. We've almost been hit twice here with Brexit, and then obviously the pandemic as well, and was back to back. So we've lost a huge amount of people from our industry, and Pizza Express hasn't escaped that. So we still have incredible people joining us, but obviously with new people there becomes inefficiency, right? It takes time to become an expert of your craft, whether it be a front of house waiter or back of house pizzaiola or a cleaner even. It's the loss of experience has really slowed us down in restaurant while we upskill our new team. And obviously recruitment in hospitality in the UK, as I'm sure it is in the US, is difficult. It's still an amazing industry. We are working on the appeal of hospitality as a career. There's some great campaigns like Hospitality Rising, which Mark McCulloch's leading in the UK, to try and bring hospitality as a great option for people, so we can get the level of staffing up again and the quality of staffing. And we're focusing on training, and we're spending a huge amount of investment of capital in training and upskilling our teams. Historically, we would have had much more settled, experienced teams. We've got operators who've been working for us for 30, 35 years, and then all the way down to people who are coming in fresh, first job, never carried a tray before, never opened a bottle of Coke before, and they're now in our business. And so the biggest bottleneck we see at site level is the experience and the skill of the team, which we're recruiting on great attitude, and we're just looking for big smiles to come in and be our customer facing roles. But with that comes a huge responsibility to train them on the health and safety, and some of the more skilled, like making coffees and dough management in our business is essential. So that takes time. And whereas one experienced pizziola could probably run £1,000 shift, it's now 2 or 3 less experienced ones. So that's a massive vacuous hole in our business and our labor line at the minute. And we are just zero focused on that to try and re-establish our core team as good as they can be and as fully skilled. What less important tasks can we take off them to allow them to be great at the customer facing aspect? So I would say that's our number one focus on productivity, and it's our biggest. Now we're having to overinvest in labour to stand still, because we're having to constantly train and retrain and recruit people just to stand still at the minute. And it is industry wide. Like I say, unfortunately, we're not excluded from.
All right, so let's. I think you hit on like a really important topic. So it is pragmatism, right? Like you got who you got coming in each day. So in what ways have you had to change how you run the operation as a result of different staffing? Permutations, challenges, whether it's limited menus, reduced hours, whatever it might be. So Graham, if you want to just continue kind of.
Yeah, so I mean, we have quite a simple offering anyway. We are, we're a pizza business, and we have one cooking apparatus. So we've always tried to pride ourselves on some simplicity. It's been one of our core values. So we're quite lucky in that degree that we've not had to hack away at steaks or fish, etc. We've kept our operation quite simple over the years. So we have done limited menu during lockdown. We're back to a full flight menu now, and added innovation back in again. So we're almost dialing that aspect of it up. We've cut out processes where we haven't needed to continue. We've digitalized. We've brought in Zenput, so we're a year into our Zenput journey now. We're fully rolled out with our operations team, and that has helped massively with communication and standardization, and almost we're replacing the need to train in certain things. Date labeling, we've gone with a date label solution with Zenput. Temperature probing, these are critical items that have taken weeks to train previously, and now we don't have to do that anymore, which is great. So that's helped. And then we've changed our operating structure as well. So the above site management is broader now. We've gone to average of 25 sites per operator. Previously it would have been 12, but it's not a cut. We've doubled up on those operators. So we've got a role we call operational excellence, which focuses on the quality of our product and our operation, and then we've got a territory manager who is purist on people and P&L. So we've re-established and been innovative with our structure with the aid of systems like Zenput again, which allows broader spans of control and visibility to wider markets, and has given us the opportunity to build a new role that is completely focused on the customer facing aspects of our business, which again is a huge change from our classic operating structure we had for many years, which was an operations manager looking after 12 to 14 stores, small geography. We've been able to change that and adapt. So yeah, we've made a lot of administration changes. We've kept true to the brand. We're looking at our service journey at the minute, and we need to adapt that post-COVID, and with the new sort of level of the team, we need to make some changes to that and what the customer expectation is. So that's in the queue to be done next as well. But yeah, we've made tweaks and changes, but the core of the business is the same, given how simple the model was pre-COVID.
Great. Hey Tim, how about you?
Yeah, business goes on, and you have to adjust and you have to adapt. And we did a really good job, and I'll take absolutely no credit for this because it happened before me, but we did a really good job of promoting from within. So people started at the store associate level, moved up to assistant manager, and then maybe into the more regional territory management team. And what we found now is that, through this pandemic, we've had to pull up our bootstraps a little bit, and everybody had to dig in and pitch in a little bit more. And these folks were ready to do that. They have a vested interest in our company. They love being here, and they saw a need, and they just stepped in. And if that meant that they went to a store that normally they've never gone to, they knew all the procedures. They knew everything that needed to be done. So they were able to step up and step in. So I think that the culture that we created prior to the pandemic served us very well when we got into troubled times and staffing issues, where we had very experienced, knowledgeable people that were still in the business in our store division, who were able to step up and fill those gaps as best they could. And if that meant jumping around from store to store, 4 hours, hit this store, 2 at this one, 2 at this one, they did it. It was just amazing. So I was, I was quite amazed after coming from a convenience store chain like Cumberland Farms, who always had, good staff and good employees and things like that. But I saw it so much more at Global for RC stores when the pandemic hit. I was just amazed at how they were able to slide through that with virtually no downtime whatsoever for any of our stores, no limited menus, and things got done. Just an amazing human story, if you will. In a technology setting, a technology webinar. I'm talking about the way humans pulled together here, but they did, and that's it. But they couldn't have done that if they didn't have the technology to support them. And things like Zenput, platforms like Zenput, where we have leveraged it to do all sorts of things, inventory, bean to cup analyses, regulatory issues, things like that. We were able to continue to do that because it was easier to do. And then we were able to focus on, okay, let's get staffing and adjust. So I think that was a positive for us.
That's great. All right, so you bring up the T word, the technology word. So we'll kind of drill down a little bit there. And Peyton, we'll kind of you. So in what ways, I think you guys are it's kind of already entering the conversation in different ways. You're starting to use technology, using technology for a while. Whether it's Zenput, otherwise, the several other types of technologies that you've put in place. What technologies have you leaned on the most or newly introduced to make the most of the resources that you do have today? And that could be optimizing what's happening in the store, in the field, even headquarters staff, giving them tools to make them more efficient as well.
A big problem in my restaurants, and I'm sure it's other people's too, is finding pins. Before the pandemic, finding a pin in your store was like, who stole this pin? And it's funny, now that the pandemic is starting to get over, the pins are still missing, but we're not looking for them anymore. And so many things have come off paper and switched and either made things easier or better or both. Zenput's been a big help with that. Like one of those things that we've just finished or we're in the process of rolling out, but we've done our first rollout is the Zenput sensors. So temperature log, kind of with the pandemic, food safety awareness has really increased. You have to sanitize a lot more things. That's brought a lot more focus back into how our team members are being safe and what they're doing. So one of the things that was still on pen and paper was a temperature log. And that was both hard for the team members because they had to stop what they were doing to write it down. And it was hard for the above store operators because we had to track that information, make sure it was accurate, follow up on it if anything was either inaccurate or if there was a problem with the equipment. And with everything being on Zenput now, not only do the team members not have to check it regularly, they get an alert if they need to do anything. But the same applies for anyone above the store level. That alert can be set up, and we can even have that alert set up to go directly to our work order management system, which is a different technology that we're using called Corrigo. So it can even immediately, if the store verifies, hey, everything's not working, it's not right, then that will go straight to the work order management system, and boom, there's a work order. The store doesn't even have to do that anymore. The DM or district manager gets an alert, and they can approve it or investigate as needed. Again, no, they don't have to be at the store or on the phone trying to handle that issue. It can be done straight from their app, or it can even bypass them if needed if it's an emergency. So I think that technology has really jumped up a lot with the pandemic. And also on the customer and making things better side, we're mainly a delivery company. So GPS and driving safety, all of that has been a big thing for us. So we use a company called Velocity. Not only does that help keep our team members safe, it saves us tons of money on our insurance, and it can even help the team members save on their personal insurance as well, because they can use that information. Some insurance companies will accept that. It ties directly into the GPS that Domino's provides. A lot of the third-party aggregators, Uber and all of them, they have a GPS where you can see where they are, whether they're picking you up to take you somewhere or whether they're bringing you food. And we use that now too. So if you order a pizza, you can see where it is. So that's good because the customer likes seeing where it is. It can also be bad if your driver wants to stop off somewhere like they shouldn't. Well, now the customer knows, hey, why are they still sitting at McDonald's instead of delivering me my pizza? So technology has advanced a lot since the pandemic, and it's made a lot of lives.
Peyton, I love your pen anecdote. So now as a marketing guy at Zenput, I'm going to go out and say, we can save you all those pens that we're going to save you. The ROI. Graham, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a always on journey for us. It doesn't feel like yesterday we were handwriting every order and putting it into the kitchen. All that's been automated through our introduction of handhelds, etc., which we're evolving, and we're looking at new devices, which will be an all-in-one payment device, which will be massively efficient for us. At the minute, we've got a split between a PDQ and a handheld device to do the two different processes. So that's exciting. We're probably 6 months away from that, but that'll be well received by our teams. They are crying out for that kind of technology. So that's the sort of physical manifestation in the restaurants. Obviously Zenput, it's great green shoots from all the different functionality of using Zenput. A big one for us has been the introduction of data and visibility of data. So we use ClickSense, which is an incredible platform to visualize data. We've always had data lying around in sort of various places, and a lot of it hidden at head office, right? But it's how do you give that power to the general managers and the guys who run our businesses to make the right decisions and inform them of what they should be focusing on and where the opportunity lies versus their peer group. So we built some amazing dashboards. Guy in my team, Stuart, is just world class at this. He's just knocking out these incredible dashboards, self-learned from YouTube, and he's building this incredible first time ever we've had this level of visual data that our general managers can just log on in the morning, see the labor performance, see the wastage, see how many bottles they have gone missing that day, that night. We've got 15-minute updates on sales for the first time ever that comes through to our operators' phones. So that is all new, and it's probably old hat for some people. It's really exciting for us, and that access instantly to data live for our businesses makes us much more agile in making the right decisions, and informing our restaurant support teams of what we need to do to support our frontline operators. So that's exciting. We'll continue to invest in that platform and grow it, and we're plugging in all our people data and all our customer data, and it's all in one place. And it's much more efficient for a manager just to sit and look at one system they can become an expert at, instead of multiple tabs on their work computers trying to find what they need and trying to cross-reference them. This does it all for them. So we're excited about that data. We don't want to overload data. The risk of giving too much and almost paralyze them sat in the office staring at a screen all day. So it's the balance between freeing them to be proper operators and serving the guests and looking after the team, but arming them with the right level of data. And we're also we're trialing other systems. Like there's a great platform called Corso, which is used in retail, that sort of just digests that data and spits out the top 3 focus. So what that store should be focusing on, without the managers need to deep dive into every KPI. So we're looking at that. It's an interesting concept, and we're looking at that could form part of our business in the future. So and then other tech points, automated coffee machines. We're looking at everything in our kitchen, KDS or kitchen display screens. So can we track our journey from order through to delivery a bit better, and take learnings from that? It's all very manual in our kitchens at the minute, so we are looking at that. What we don't want to be is almost a warehouse of screens and digitalized things all over the place, because we have relatively small footprint restaurants, and we need to be sympathetic to the customer as well as the technology. So everything we're looking at is in service of the team and in service of the guests. So what we don't want to walk in one day is see almost a car phone warehouse or PC world. This is a restaurant, and this is a people business, so we don't want to tip the balance too much, because there's some amazing things out there, right? I get contacted every day via LinkedIn or email of just new things coming to the market, and we got a demo of this camera that scans our restaurant and picks up on if there's one olive missing from one of our pizzas, or we're over portioning on cheese, or the Coke that was ordered hasn't been delivered. Now that's really exciting, but is it the right thing to do? So it's the balance between over digitalization and getting the right thing for what is, like I said, a simple operation, and it should always be in service of freeing our team up, not replacing them or annoying the customer because there's this buzzing screen in the corner. So yeah, there's some great stuff out there. We're doing some great things, exciting things, but it's always a fine balance, isn't it, between people and digital, as Tim referenced previously.
It's a great point. One of the questions that has come in as I'm keeping an eye is around adoption. Like, how do you, as we're trying to bring all this tech into our house, like what are tips on helping that land, right? But so maybe Tim, let me let you answer that question head on around in what ways technology is making a difference, right? But then if you have insight, it'd be good to kind of maybe address that. Yes, there are these software products or other products that have a lot of potential. How do you actually drive adoption? So
yeah, no, that's an excellent point about adoption. Is how do you drive that? And the way we did it was we did a collaborative build of the technology. For example, if we're using a Zenput platform and we're doing a form in Zenput, we're not creating it in a vacuum in our corporate office and sending it out to the masses and saying, here's the edit, go do it. That's not the right way to embrace technology. You have to have buy-in from the people that are going to use it, and getting them involved early in the process, getting their insight, the nuances that go along with actually completing and using some of this technology is vital to the success of the product itself and the adoption. We have frequent calls with either our store managers or our territory sales managers, where we're introducing a new technology to them, but it's already been vetted out through one of their peers, or two of their peers, or three of their peers that have been involved in the actual development of how we're going to use it. Last thing we want to do is put a technology out there and tell everybody to use it, and then find out it's flawed because it doesn't address A, B, and C, but it has 1, 2, and 3 in there that you really don't need. So I think that's the way to gain some consensus and some adoption when you're implementing a technology platform or any sort of an enhancement in technology, is make sure that you get the people involved that are going to be using it on a day-to-day basis. There's no sense in building it in a vacuum and sending it out and having it be flawed, because even if you correct it, the next one that comes out, nobody's going to be willing to adopt it. It's going to be so much harder. You've made your path so much more difficult. We frequently use Zenput forms and surveys through Zenput to do our day-to-day operations in our stores. I think we have, I don't know, 130 different forms that we use in Zenput. It's just amazing. And it's every little thing that we would do in a store. And those have been vetted through people at the store level, at the area manager level, the regional territory, and the vice president level. Everybody's had a chance to take a look at it, opine on it, before we actually tried to implement it and expect adoption. And it's been very successful for us.
That's great.
If I could also just add one more thing about technology. I think the second part of technology is not only how you internally use it, but how do you use it when you're facing customers? How do you have that customer facing part of it? So we've partnered with other folks that have platforms. For example, there's a platform out there called Get Upside, which will alert customers if they sign up to it, alert customers to where your stations are, and also give them a discount if they go there often on their gas. So they want to go there. So people that have Get Upside use this platform, and they're kind of directed to our stations. Like here's a global station here, one here, one here. You know, you're right here in the middle. Go to any one of them, and it kind of directs you there. And I think that's important, that you also adopt and leverage that customer-facing technology as well to help continue to drive the business to your station. I just wanted to bring that up as an additional point.
All right, great. So actually, as we're kind of coming up on time, a final question, and I love this question. It's kind of the crystal ball question, and it is around this customer experience. So if you each had your crystal ball, I bestow on you your own crystal ball. I think one could argue, I think a lot of the themes here is like technology is never going to replace people and the talent that you're bringing into organizations. But the best way to improve productivity is probably to become less reliant on people power. And I think the theme of this discussion is it's less reliant on having people that can be doing so much more stuck doing lower level tasks, right? For example, by leaning on automation. So if you give yourself the luxury, here's the crystal ball part of it. If you give yourself the luxury of 5 years, 5-year time horizon, give yourself a chance to dream big. 5 years, a lot can happen in 5 years. How far do you think automation will take us, either in terms of how the front or back of house experience would be different, 5 years from now? So Peyton, why don't we let you kind of have your last story tell on that?
So I think automation in 5 years could actually be further than we want to go. You could automate anything. Even Domino's has tested out little robots in Japan that deliver your pizza for you. Yeah. It's not something that we plan on, completely investing in. It's more of a, hey, we have this technology. But the customer experience, which you mentioned, that is the part that should never be automated. You go to most retail places, they have self-checkouts now. I prefer those, I use those, but there's still somebody there. That one person can now manage, instead of one line, they can manage 5 self-checkout machines. But the human element is still there. People are gonna have issues, whether it's with the technology itself or with a complaint or a concern. And that's where your person is even more important. Because if the technology fails them, they have no one at that moment to express that concern with. They're placing an order online, it's a computer. So they have to call into the store. So now you have to be even more customer friendly than you were before, because everyone who's calling in is already a little bit more agitated. The pandemic really did not help that. Everyone's more stressed out, everyone's more agitated. But you can use this automation to make those team members' lives easier so that they can be freed up for other things. As Domino's has put more and more emphasis into ordering online or ordering through a phone center, we haven't reduced our inside labor allowance. We still have the same number of insiders as we did when they had to run to the phones. They're just now freed up to sometimes help make the product, of course, but help those customers that do come in, that do want to come to the store to pick up or call in with a question or a concern. And now hopefully they can get better service now that they can be more dedicated to the customer instead of to the menial tasks.
like it. I like it. Graham, how about you? Your 5 predictions.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to get rid of back of house offices. You know, we're a restaurant business. Why have we got an office? You know, all this paperwork filed away, filing cabinets full of, 10-year-old paper. The ambition would be to get rid of them completely and have everything on digital platforms, and get our managers back on the floor, automating ordering processes and all these more boring bits of our industry that aren't why people join. People join because they're big personalities. They enjoy dealing with the public. They enjoy customer service. They enjoy leading a team. Getting them sat in an office, writing out order forms and manually doing training, etc. Would be a big win for our industry if we can just automate and almost spend 10 grand less on an office and spend that money on the customer facing areas. So I think that's achievable within 5 years. And then a big bit for me would be digitalizing training. The 40% of our workforce is now under 20. That's a massive shift from what we're used to, and we've still got a very similar learning equipment and styles that we had before that was the case. So how do we keep up with what the demand of this new workforce, this new generation? They want to learn in a different way. They want to learn in a different language. We've got to start to adapt. So the digitalization and automation of training, there's great platforms out there. We're looking at them now, and there's some great opportunities to partner up with some really sort of cutting edge TikTok style learning rather than paper and pen learning is the way it's going. And the quicker we can adopt that, the more excited our teams will be about learning with us, staying with us, growing with us, and building a career with us. So yeah, get rid of the boring bits, enhance training, make training more fun and exciting, upskill our teams naturally. Everybody wins. So yeah, that would be my sort of 5-year dream. I wouldn't go down robots and all that angle. It's not for us, I don't think. But yeah, never say never. But they would be my 2 focuses.
All right, that's great. Thanks, Graham. All right, Tim, last word, last prediction.
Yes. Yeah, so in the next 5 years, we're developing robots. No, I'm kidding. No, in 5 years, I can see all of that mundane, routine, regulatory, inventory, safety check things, all being automated, where our customer service reps can go back to being truly what they are, customer service reps. You hire these folks because they have a certain personality, and it's a good one, and it's one that you want facing your customers. And I know that as customers, we've all probably experienced this, where we've gone into a convenience store and met a surly clerk who looks like they're just run down and they're ready to explode, and you don't know why. And we've all seen that. Certainly not at any of our stations and stores, I can say that, but in others. But I think now that we're trying to take away some of that mundane routine work, we're seeing the satisfaction of the customer service rep come back, and they're starting to feel much better about embracing that part of their personality. And the reason why we hired them is that they want to talk to customers, they want to get to know them, they want to say, "Hi, Bob, we got your coffee ready for you," that type of thing. They really want to get there, and our folks do their darndest to get there every day. But put it back 3-4 years ago, it was much tougher. 5 years from now, I think it's going to be better, much better. And now it's even better. It's better now, even with the pandemic and coming out of the pandemic, that we're seeing that they can concentrate a little bit more on the customer and be customer facing. And then the second part of that, I think, is also kind of on the customer end. How do you leverage technology to make the experience in your convenience store easier for the customer? Because that's where you're going to gain an advantage over your competition, is that if you do it better, you're going to get the customer. And I think that's something that technology can help you get to, by getting it out there the right way, using the marketing people and asking them to help you get it out the right way, making sure the technology is easy enough to use for the consumer so that they feel good about coming there. So now you've got a customer that feels good about coming to your station, and you've got a sales representative who really wants to see that customer. That is a winning combination, if you ask me. Where in past years, I know I grew up in the 80s, I was afraid to go in a convenience store sometimes. You never knew what you were going to get. So I think leveraging the technology in the next 5 years is going to help make that customer experience much better. And as we transition into a fresh food offering, it's going to be even more important to us to have that, because you want to make sure that you have those people in the stores that are going to be able to concentrate on the customer, going to be able to concentrate on the fresh food offerings and making sure that they are indeed fresh. So I see a lot of the mundane stuff going away in 5 years. It'll all be automated.
And I think we're on our way.
Yep.
Thank you, gentlemen. Time flew as I'm listening and learning from all of you. And thank you, everyone, for taking time. I know how everyone is busy these days, so taking some time to tune in. Hope you got something out of this discussion as I did. We did put into the chat a lot of the research that I shared, just a little bit of a taste of that up front. I think in the chat is a link to a productivity guide, which captures a lot of this research. And we're also going to send that for anyone that had registered. We'll get that in a follow-up as well. So Peyton, Graham, Tim, thanks again. And everyone else, have a great rest of your days.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.